Hey, what's going on, guys? I meant to take this video earlier on today, but there just wasn't any time. On the weekends, I like to hang out with my wife, and we usually bring the baby around, so it's not always super easy to take videos and stuff. But I figured it'd be a good opportunity for me to try to sit down and take one in a area where I'm not super distracted and having to dodge traffic and stuff like that. This is where I've been making my music. I got this ghetto pillow right there in front of the microphone just for when I'm for sound cancellation. That's because I don't have anything sufficient for canceling out the sound. So I'm thinking maybe I'll get I don't know, maybe cartons or something. I think people will use maybe the material from my house, or not from my house, but from my work. I'll be able to set up just along this back wall, cover up some of those spots, as long as it's not echoey. So I don't know, maybe a drape, some blanket or something over there. But today I wanted to talk about a little bit more about money because it's the thing that's been on my mind for a little bit, and it kind of reflects what we did today. So money, right? Now I don't know about you, but I work one job and it's all right wage, but the hours are cut from what they used to be. I used to be making a lot of 56-hour plus work weeks, and if we work 7 days, we got paid double time, and that was very good. More than suitable to be able to keep up with my finances and have my worries. I could just throw money recklessly and not really worry about what I was doing. But now we're closer to 40 hours, and it's pretty funny how when you've been working off of overtime for a long time, how all of a sudden getting regular 40-hour work weeks kind of suck, and you got to start watching your finances more because my wife hasn't been working. I'll call it a suitable job for a while. I mean, she was off for a little bit, and now she's back. But now that we've had our baby, she doesn't have the opportunity to work as often. So money is very important, especially if you're trying to build like a business, right? So what I wanted to talk about is some of the things, like the decisions that we made, because in my opinion and in my perspective, well, it's not really an opinion, it's really a choice. If you're in the situation, you only got so much money, right? So depending on what you use that on is very important. So what are some of the things I did with mine? Well, aside from paying the obvious bills like rent and um, the basic bills like insurances and the house, I should say it was a mortgage, not rent, but the electric bill, all that crap. Well, when when my hours got cut, then there's a lot of things I had to also cut out because I was thinking, Jesus, I need to do some essential things to make this business go forward, and I can't do that if I don't clean up my finances in my regular life. So what are those things? Well, I'm a big advocate of education, and absolutely love things like Udemy for courses. I have an Audible account with a couple hundred books on there, and absolutely phenomenal because you want to keep learning and studying. Well, I've gotten to a point where it's just like, oh my God, I need to really clean up my act because we've got credit card debt, we've got some outstanding bills that we just need to pay, and I've been watching. The most recent book that I read, or the audio book, was from Dave Ramsey called Total Money Makeover. And he pretty much says, it's our responsibility for our finances. Where we ended up is completely our fault. It's not because of any of this other bullshit we like to blame it on. It's from our lack of responsible spending habits. So I had to go back and think, okay, well, what have I been doing maybe wrong for some of these years? I don't regret ever paying for a book or a course. And the only reason that I cut back now is because I'm really dedicated to try to focus and be more thrifty so I don't just throw money at a problem. See, it's very easy when you have a little bit of extra money to spend it a little irrationally. Like if I need something done, I made a post recently about leveraging money through outsourcing. Well, there's been a lot of situations where I was just like, I'm just going to go ahead and throw money at outsourcing to a whole bunch of people, get the best prototype, and then out of that, get a better version from it, right? Well, that's good, and it's not a bad approach because you want to have the best of, well, if you're doing something that really matters, you want to have the best version of that. And I did that with some of the artwork that I was doing for when I was making game design. But it gets pretty costly. And it's not necessary that you have to do that. Like, a lot of the times, for example, I would throw money in to say, yeah, come up with something and we'll figure it out. Well, for just a little bit of planning by drawing stick figures, literally like stick figures on a piece of paper, and just describing what I would want, I could severely lower the cost of what I needed to pay to get what I liked. Because ultimately, I'd be the one deciding if I like it or not, and I should know roughly if I'm going to like something or not. So, by pre-planning that and figuring it out ahead of time and giving that information to just one artist, I can severely save myself on a lot of cost. Well, ever since the budget's been cut a little bit, I had to go a little bit more extreme and say, well, shit, what exactly do I have to get rid of? And, man, I apologize. I don't know why, but it's like something's in my mouth. So I'm still a little bit distracted. I'm having like dry mouth right now. And no, it wasn't because I was smoking weed or anything. I don't really mess with that stuff. But, I think out for my list, right, gives me a little bit of an idea. I don't know. Fuck it. You know, the whole point of this is not to worry about editing your stuff. I don't care. I'm not going to edit this afterwards anyway, so you have to deal with the rant, I suppose. The real deal, the real business. Oh, okay. Because I know I mentioned some of the stuff in the previous video, but so I can get more on a new topic for that. You got a couple different dimensions of this, right? So when you spend extra money on the way I just used in my example, obviously that's kind of frivolous. Or you might justify it as all right, but in the end you can do it way better by putting a little bit of your own effort into it. Well, what are some other costs? And one of the first things I thought about is like for clothing and stuff, right? So today is the only time in my life where I actually went to a thrift store looking for clothing. And, you know, I was actually disgusted with the idea at first, which is very funny because they can have potentially the same quality of clothes, maybe a little used, that I would have bought at, you know, the expensive stores like Buckle or Express, but you gotta get them at an excessively discounted price. Maybe it's one size too big, maybe it's one size too small, but from what I noticed, I was able to pick up a couple 99-cent shirts that are just the same things I would wear anyways, and it's ludicrous to think that when I'm spending 99 cents for a shirt that I would have gotten anyways, that would have cost more than 20 bucks, you start to think of, oh my god, how many times in my life am I overspending for just basic things? Same thing with food. If you don't go around and pay attention to the prices, you can easily have a bill that's excessively expensive. But when you start paying attention and you go to a couple places to see the different options, it's amazing what you can get for under $20. So one practice I have had for a while is I always go to the grocery store before work. I go to Horrocks Grocery Mart. I'm very lucky it's around here because it's it's pretty elaborate. They've got a huge selection. When you go there, they give you like free coffee. Hell, they give you free alcohol if you want. I don't know any store I've ever been to where they would give you free alcohol while you're going around the store, and they have like a little pub there and stuff. It's crazy, right? Now they sell gelato and all this other crap. But I go there every single day before work, and my bill is only ever like $3.49 or $3.70 because I get like the same thing, but I'm getting fresh fruit and vegetables, and I'm always going for the things that are the cheapest at that time. I don't need to be super picky. See, when you're picky, you're paying more money than you need to. You can't be so specific, and you can't try to get other people to figure out your problems, because when you're not selective enough, or when you're too selective, or you don't have a direction, when you start paying money for things, you end up paying way more. When you need to have something specific and you don't have any flexibility whatsoever, you're going to pay more money. And that works with like outsourcing, and comes with your diet and all that other stuff, because hell, you eat all this different food, right? You obviously can't be going to Taco Bell every damn day. You can't be eating cereal or some bullshit. But do you really have to have a certain thing every single day? Or can it vary a little bit? If you gotta have like your meat, right? So if chicken's on sale today, but you were craving beef, do you really need the beef that bad? Maybe you can wait until next week when the beef's on sale. You see what I'm getting at? Take advantage of the money opportunities you have right there, because at the end of the day, you want to use that money for things that actually matter. Like for me right now, I want to use that money for like marketing. I've got a very specific plan. I always talk about it, but here's my book right here. Thoughts Become Things. Wrote that at from 2016 and published it last year. I probably could have promoted it a little bit better, but I'm going to make a promotional video now, like kind of one of those motivational videos, where you see people like sweating in the background and running, and they're like lifting weights and talking about like change. It happens in an instant. Blah 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 blah. Like an inspirational, motivational kind of thing with an overdubbed voice. That'll be my voice, obviously. It'll be pretty cool when it gets done. But there's a couple things I need to make that happen. Unless I'm going to go out and take all this footage myself, which isn't going to happen. Which that would take a lot of time as well. I'm going to need to pay for those clips, because it gets a little sketchy when you go for free material because you get bad quality. So that means I need to have money for... Whew, man, this fucking mouth, I swear. Happens every now and then. But you got to have that money for the important things. I'd rather be able to make a promotional video, which is going to help me potentially sell the book more, than buying expensive pizza or doing some bullshit. Half the time, going out to eat in general is usually frivolous and just completely unnecessary. And the only reason you even feel like doing that in the first place is because you have this standard of living. You have this idea that I can't do that, or I have to do this. That's why I was so appalled about going to the thrift store originally. It's just like, why would I go there? That's where poor people shop. Well, that's where people shop because they want to get a deal, because they don't have other options. But the funny part is when you have the option, but you choose to go for the less expensive one for things that don't matter, like your clothing when you're just dicking around doing your own stuff. And if you need a special public image, sure, get stuff for those specific things. But if you're just out working out, going to work, whatever, you don't need special clothes. You don't need to impress anybody. Fuck it. Spend 99 cents for a damn shirt, and that'll have you covered for until it breaks. You know what I mean? Get a whole bunch of them, and you'll be set for a long time. So many frivolous costs that you can spend that it's absurd. And you have to break that idea of what it is that you think you need to have or you don't need to have. Because today I think I made the last possible change I could by merging the accounts from my wife's and my phones together, which is going to save us a total of $20. $20 a month! That's exciting for us because, when I cut out my Audible account, that's about $30 a month right there. This is an extra $20 right here. I was paying originally from my phone bill an extra $7 for bullshit charges. And what? I had some bullshit for a game on my phone that was just like a reoccurring charge. Completely unnecessary, and it comes down to, would you rather spend it on the bullshit, or would you rather spend it on something that really matters? And you could argue, well, I need this or whatever. Maybe you have a certain budget that you spend for entertainment and for other stuff, but that goes to the second thing, which is this idea of fungibility, where an economist knows what fungibility is, but the common person doesn't, and they don't think about this. You know, there's a lot of things that economists will think about that normal people won't, and a recent book that I listened to called Misbehaving really cleared some of that up. For example, what fungible means is when I think it's always pertaining to currency, like money. Don't quote me on that, but I know at least in this context it is. But when I say money is fungible, that means it can be used um, in any form or fashion to spend for anything. It's meaning that if, like, sometimes we say we've got money for entertainment, or we've got money for the bills, or we got money for giving gifts at Christmas time. Well, we've delegated these imaginary categories of what we're going to use this money for, but money is fungible, meaning that if you didn't have enough to pay the bills, you could take it from the Christmas fund, because all of that money can be used for anything, but we just have it in our head where we're doing what they call mental calculating or mental accounting, and we've already convinced ourselves that it has to be in one fund and one fund only. But money is fungible; it can move around, it can go to different accounts. So it's a very particular trap that we can find ourselves getting into, where if we think, well, I don't have money for marketing, but I've got, a little bit more money for going out to eat. Well, I mean, I get the point of a budget and like delegating all your dollars out, but at the end of the day, all those dollars can be spent for anything. So what do you want more? Do you want to go out to eat, or do you want to pay for your marketing material? Um, been listening to a lot of like Dave Ramsey, as I said. He super grinds this in and talks about the steps to get out of debt and then become financially wealthy. And a lot of it's poor spending habits that get you into problems. And then it's trying to skip steps or doing them out of order. Like, not, you can't invest until you have a solid foundation where you can be debt free, minus your mortgage. But you can't have other debt than that. And the only reason he doesn't say put mortgage down right away is because mortgage can be really expensive, and you might not be able to pay that down in a reasonable amount of time. So before you pay off the house, but after you paid off the other bills, you need to put that money for investing for yourself, so you have like a little nest egg down the road. And it gives an example about how one time there was an old guy who paid off his house, but he didn't have anything in his Roth IRA, which works over time way better for you, because he gets the leverage of time in his favor. Um, well, he ended up having to sell the house anyways because he didn't have any damn money. So that's how that kind of works. But my wife and I are very diligent right now at trying to figure out our finances, because if I'm going to run any kind of successful business, I need to keep in mind that I'm going to have certain things to keep it operable. And even though I can be cheap in a lot of ways, and I can be creative to make up for those, there's some things that you got to pay for because it saves you infinitely more time. I don't need to become a graphic artist for every single project. I don't have the skill set, first off, and aside from making each one of the things work, making every piece of illustration or otherwise, or the banners or the ads and other stuff, it would take a while to gain the skills to do those effectively. So I would definitely check out the post I did on why you should be outsourcing in the first thing. But in addition to this whole thing on spending alone, you've also got like another idea of how you're spending your money, or how you're spending your time. I'm not going to say time is money, because money is money and time is time. Time is way more valuable because they're not directly correlated, you know. You only have a limited amount of time, but you can have an infinite amount, well, practically an infinite amount of money. And you can get that through leverage and stuff. But how are you spending your time? You know, you might not be spending money per se, but when you're sleeping 9 hours a day, or you're, you know, just sitting on the toilet 20 minutes texting and taking a shit and doing some weird stuff like that, you could use, how much is that time worth to you? Well, you could have been making, well, doing some side jobs, doing some other stuff to help you get out of debt and get to that point. So there's a lot of things like I'm really taking consideration and seriously for myself right now that I don't think a lot of people do. But I just kind of want to say that off the top of my head today because that's what I've been thinking about. Yeah, I think I pretty much talked about everything I wanted to. This is a longer video than normal. So be it. You may have stuck along or around until the end. Maybe not. You know, it's only going to be a matter of time before I'm a little bit better at doing this. Practice makes perfect, but you know, I'm past that point. I'm past that point of really worrying about if it comes out ranty or not, because anyone who does want to listen will listen. Anyone who doesn't, doesn't. Whatever. I'll still make the videos. I want to make them available for you either way. And, you know, the point of these videos is so you can kind of see, like, what's going through the mind of, well, what's going through, like, my mindset as I'm trying to build this brand. Because you might have the same kind of considerations or struggles or worries and stuff. So I'm just going to tell you exactly everything that's going on with me. And then hopefully, well, hopefully you don't have to relate. Hopefully you have some spare money and you're able to do some of these things and completely bypass and hit a running, you know. But if not, I hope that I can help inspire you in some way. So if you found any value in this video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Take a look at some of the videos. I do make them daily. I'm not going to hold myself to that like I did for the 90-day challenge, where it's just like every single day I'm going to post a video and of special content and blah 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 blah. I mean, I pretty much am going to be posting a video every day just because I want to. So I guess you could say, yeah, every day. But either way, that's just, I'm not going to drag this out any longer. So I will see you tomorrow.